Welcome back to the channel, guys. Let's get straight into today's story. The Parliamentary expenses scandal is one of the most notorious episodes in modern British politics, and it's easy to see why. For years, ordinary citizens believed that the people they elected to govern the country were acting in the nation's best interests. But when the scandal erupted, it became painfully clear that many MPs, the very people trusted with public money, were abusing the system for personal gain. What was revealed was shocking, widespread and utterly unacceptable. This wasn't just about a few rogue politicians. At its height, the scandal exposed hundreds of MPs from both Labour and Conservative parties, systematically inflating their expenses, claiming money for items that were unnecessary, extravagant or simply bizarre. Some MPs claimed for second homes that didn't exist, others for luxury renovations, and some even went as far as claiming for duck houses, moat cleaning and other clearly frivolous items. The public's reaction was one of disbelief and outrage. People were left asking, who do these politicians think they are? What makes this scandal even more infuriating is the sense of entitlement that many MPs displayed. Taxpayers who work hard to make ends meet saw their money being misused, while those in power seemed entirely unconcerned about our public opinion. Ordinary Britons felt completely disconnected from the political elite, a feeling that only grew as more and more shocking claims were uncovered. Labour and the Conservatives both had their fair share of MPs caught up in the scandal. Tony Blair's era, and as well as subsequent leadership, faced intense scrutiny. The scandal didn't discriminate between party lines. What united all those involved was a belief that they were above the rules, insulated from scrutiny, and that the taxpayers' money was essentially theirs to use as they wished. This sense of impunity was galling, and it fueled a wave of public anger that had far-reaching consequences for Westminster's credibility. The fallout from the scandal was enormous. MPs were forced to resign, some faced criminal charges and a handful were prosecuted. Beyond individual punishments, however, the scandal fundamentally shook public trust in politics. It wasn't just about financial abuse, it was about morality, integrity and the culture of Westminster itself. People were angry not just because their money had been misused, but because MPs acted as if they were entitled to it, with little to no remorse. The scandal also shone a light on systematic problems in parliamentary oversight. The rules around expenses were riddled with loopholes and enforcement was weak at best. MPs could exploit the system with relative ease, and many did. While reforms were eventually introduced to prevent such abuses in the future, critics argued that these measures didn't go far enough. The episode highlighted a wider problem in British politics. The system is often designed by those in power to protect themselves, leaving ordinary citizens powerless to hold them accountable. From a right-wing perspective, the parliamentary expenses scandal is a clear warning about elitism, institutional capture and a lack of accountability. It demonstrates what happens when politicians are left unchecked and unmonitored. They often act in their own interests, rather than serving the people who elected them. Taxpayers, hard-working families, pensioners and other small businesses were the ones left footing the bill, while MPs carried on with lavish spending. The scandal also had a cultural impact. Media coverage was relentless, and each new claim seemed more outrageous than the last. Duck houses and moat cleaning became symbols of political hypocrisy. Public cynicism towards Westminster soared. People began to question not just individual MPs, but the entire system. Confidence in the political class fell and voter apathy increased. Many ordinary citizens began to feel that politics served the few rather than the many. Even now, the scandal continues to resonate. It's not just a historical story, it's a lesson in why transparency, scrutiny and accountability are essential in a democracy. Right-wing commentators often highlight it as proof that unchecked centralised power always leads to corruption, and that ordinary citizens must demand tighter controls over MPs' perks and privileges. It's a reminder that politicians cannot be trusted to regulate themselves, and that systems of oversight are essential. The scandal also underscores a simple but fundamental truth. Public service means public accountability. MPs who treat taxpayers' money as their personal slush fund betray not only the public but the essence of democracy itself. The parliamentary expenses scandal exposes the dangers of a political elite prioritising self-interest over duty, and it showed the consequences when governance is detached from common sense and ordinary citizens' concerns. In expanding on the details, it's worth noting how deeply some of the abuse is cut. Some MPs claimed mortgage payments that were already covered, some charged for commuting costs that made little sense, and others even claim for household goods unrelated to their duties. This wasn't accidental or minor, it was systematic, deliberate and exploitative. Each revelation fueled media coverage, and the public fury led to a sustained period of distrust that affected the elections party leadership and voter sentiment for years to come. The scandal also paved the way for wider discussions about ethics in politics. It made voters question the values and motives of their representatives. It forced the political establishment to confront the idea that power without accountability is dangerous, and that privileges given to MPs must be carefully monitored to prevent abuse. From a right-wing lens, this is a lesson that applies beyond the scandal itself. Governments must always operate under scrutiny, and citizens must demand transparency. Finally, the parliamentary expenses scandal serves as a permanent warning. It reminded the British public that politicians, regardless of party, must be watched closely. Those who are entrusted with power and public funds cannot be allowed to act with impunity. Reforms are necessary, vigilance is required, and the public must never forget the scale of the abuses exposed during the shocking episode. The lessons are as relevant today as they were when the story first broke, and they remain a cornerstone for anyone advocating accountability in British politics. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want more honest political commentary and don't want to miss what's really happening behind the headlines, hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments below.